I'm Caitlin, and I'm an intern at the Dykeman Farmhouse Museum. If you guys don't know me already, I'm actually a summer intern coming to you from the Cooperstown graduate program, and I'm on the science track. While I would love to be doing some science with you in person every Saturday, things got a little complicated, so we'll be doing Dykeman at home, featuring some really cool experiments. And today is elephant toothpaste. So we're gonna need some ingredients for today. It's pretty simple, and most things you can get right in your neighborhood store, nothing too complicated. So we're gonna start with some warm water. Make sure you only need a couple tablespoons. You want it fairly warm because it's gonna activate our yeast here. You only need a packet of yeast. This is obviously a much bigger packet of yeast. That's for me to, do this several attempts and hopefully get it right before you actually see it online. Now we have some food coloring, any color of your choice. Pick it, make it a rainbow. It's totally up to you, whatever your preference is. You're gonna need some hydrogen peroxide. We want 3%, which is the typical kind that you use to put on your cuts and wounds. It's pretty simple, it's pretty cheap, and any amount is fine. We're only gonna use about half a cup. Speaking of half a cup, you're going to want a measuring cup for that to make sure that your numbers are correct. You want to measure it ever so right. And you're going to need a tablespoon for the yeast and water later on, so make sure you get one of those. Next, we have an empty container. I'm using an empty soda, 2-liter bottle. Nothing too fancy. It still has a little water in it. You can shake that right out. It's fine. As long as it's clean, roughly, you're good to go. You're going to want a mixing bowl for your yeast. It's very simple. Any bowl is fine. It's pretty cheap plastic. You don't need anything fancy today. I have goggles. If you have something to cover your eyes, definitely go ahead and do so. Protective equipment is always important when doing science. If you have glasses, that's fine. If you don't have protective eyewear, it is not mandatory. Just please back up. Don't get anything in your eyes. And well, today we are doing something that's relatively easy to get in the house. We wanted to let you know that there is a much more exciting version, but it does require something a little bit more expensive, a little fancier, and that is our 6% or 20 volume hydrogen peroxide. This I had to order online. It is not something that you can easily get in store. I mean, maybe you can, I don't know. I don't know what stores you go to, but this is something that's a little bit more pricey, and that's totally up to you. It does create a more dramatic effect. We're going to do the more simpler one, which is safer for children. This one, you do want some adult supervision while working with, and you do definitely want to wear gloves if children are handling it, but that's totally up to you. We're going to do both versions today. Alright, so we're going to get started. I have half a cup right here of hydrogen peroxide. I'm just going to go ahead and pour it in. If it's easier for you, you can get a funnel. I like to think that I can pour something into the bottle, but as you'll probably soon see, that I will end up getting it everywhere, so that's totally up to you. I think a funnel would have been smarter, but I seem to have done okay. It's pretty exciting. Next, we're going to go ahead and put our dish soap in. All the websites I saw, they didn't give me an amount. I think I do about a tablespoon, but some websites also just say a big squirt, so we're going to go ahead and just do that. The soap is to keep the oxygen trapped in a little bit, which creates the effect in a more steady foam. So we'll go ahead and get that in there right now. Alright. Now, I did have some difficulty picking a color. I think I'm going to go with blue because of the soap's blue. The soap doesn't really affect the color. I just thought it'd be fun to do. So we're going to go ahead and put some blue droplets in there. We'll do a different color for the next one. Just a few droplets, nothing too crazy. I'm going to give it a nice squish around. Science. Alright. Next we're going to go ahead. This is going to get where it gets a little bit messy. We're going to start preparing the yeast. If you're like me and you have the packet of yeast, this big pack of yeast, it's 1 tablespoon to every 4 tablespoons of warm water. If you have a packet, just follow the directions on there. Just get that in there. Alright. So we got our yeast in here. Now we're gonna go ahead and get some water. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I should probably state in the beginning here that I am not a chemist. My chemistry days started and ended in the very beginning of undergrad. So we're just gonna go ahead and mix this 30 seconds, get that yeast all activated, have some fun. It kind of looks like sandy water. It kind of smells a little bit. It's not the most pleasant thing, but it's yeast and I'm getting it everywhere. Alright, so that was activated. I'm just gonna move everything to the side now and we're gonna get started on the action. Alright, so now it's time for the big moment. I've got my goggles on purely for dramatic reasons because this version, not gonna go too crazy. You could do this with a nice little container underneath to collect it all if you want to do it inside. I promised my mom I would do it outside, so here we are. Give it all a nice little mix. Take 2. The last time it didn't work, I think my water might have cooled a little too much and the yeast didn't fully activate. So we've gone ahead and set this all back up again. We're gonna go ahead and give it one more try. Let's see how it works. If not, hopefully I don't get fired. Let's see. Missed half the container. Here we go. There we've got toothpaste. It's still going. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I did this outside. I don't have a pan to catch it in, but you could use any type of pan you want. Look at that. Finished product. We've got some elephant toothpaste. It is foamy. It is disgusting. It actually dyed my hands blue, so maybe use a little less dye than I did. Oh man. That is wonderful. Oh, we have bubbles. Alright, well, if you thought this was fun and you want a little bit more excitement in your life, maybe you're like, okay, well, I've seen those videos where it literally explodes. Stay tuned, because we're about to do this all over again, but with a different hydrogen peroxide that is 6% instead of 3%. It's time for the big moment. I've got my safety goggles on. I've got my activated yeast that is very bubbly. I've gone ahead and taken the liberty to clear off my workspace just to be sure, because I, again, have never done this before, only watched the videos. Forget the tablecloth. We're just gonna go for it. Here we go. Look at that. So what's happening here? As I mentioned, hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, and when you break that down, it turns into oxygen, which is O2, and water, which is H2O. Now normally this would happen under very much slower circumstances, but because we're adding a catalyst, which is something that causes the reaction fairly quickly, we get to see this show when it's mixed with soap. Yeast is an organism that contains a special chemical called catalase, and that's what we use to act as a catalyst to help break down the hydrogen peroxide. Catalyst is present in almost all living things that are exposed to oxygen, and it helps them break down naturally occurring hydrogen peroxide. This means if you mix the yeast with the hydrogen peroxide, it rapidly breaks down and releases oxygen into the air and turns into water. But with the help of soap, we're able to trap that using the surface tension that holds the oxygen in just a little bit longer until it can break out, which creates that foam and gives it a toothpaste-like feeling. So as you can see, that hydrogen peroxide, small percentage, makes a big difference. We had much thicker foam, a lot faster of a reaction, and we still got that really satisfying foam feeling. So if you like this, we're going to need you to like, we're going to need you to follow the page if you haven't already, because Dykeman Farmhouse is coming at you with more science experiments this summer.